All right. Hi, everybody. This is Matt from ClickBid. And let me get my camera going for better or worse. I'm working from my house today. It was my day to pick up the grandkids. So I am here. Let me turn my camera on. And let's see. Yeah, that's good enough. All right. So welcome, everybody. And these meetings are, just bringing one more person in. These meetings are really meant to help get everybody kind of acclimated to the event stream service that we added this late spring, early summer, and give everybody a chance to kind of see how we set things up, how we recommend things get set up, and so on. And so what I want to do, much better for you to see my screen than to see me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my admin here, and we're going to dive in. And now what I want to do is make a few assumptions and then dig into setting up our event stream. So video, live auction items, and so on. I have my ClickBid account. I've gone ahead and activated. I have the event stream service added to my account, and I've added some auction items. And so, those kind of are the prerequisites. My event is set for the 30th, which is 8 days away. And so I want to get everything kind of dialed in. And so some of this is just typical kind of pre-event maintenance that you want to take care of. And so I'm just going to go to items, manage items, and I have my items listed in here. And I want to show them all, so I can go to show all so I can see everything. And then I'm going to select all of them. And I'm going to change the status to active. And then I'm going to change my closing time so that everything matches. Let's close it on the 30th at 7 p.m. And then because I checked both of these two, we're going to close them. And we're going to set the status. Everything else we're going to leave alone. Now, if I wanted them all to have the same starting bid, the same category, table name, and so on, I could toggle those and do all these updates all at once. I'm just going to press update, and it's going to refresh. And so now they're all set to September 30th at 7 p.m., and they're all active, except this credit item, which is an item that we're not going to get into. It's the ability to discount an invoice that somebody has, so we're going to skip that for now. What I want to talk about is the actual live auction items that we're going to auction off during the event. So the event closes at 7, so let's say my actual broadcast starts at 6. And at 6:30, I'm going to cut to a live camera of my auctioneer, and I'm going to auction off these live auction items. So I have a group of items that I want to auction off online and in person. Maybe I've gotten the permission to have 150 people in my event, but I still have 150 people at home that I want to participate in the live auction. So I want them to be able to do both, raise a paddle and also, bid on these live items at home. So one other thing I wanted to mention, I usually mention this up front, and I actually forgot it this time. What I wanted to show here is, actually, you can't see it because I don't think Zoom shows me the Zoom stuff. Or Zoom doesn't show you guys the Zoom stuff that I see. It's kind of confusing. But I opened up my Zoom group chat, and if you guys have any questions while I'm going through this, go ahead and pop those in the chat, and I'll see if I can, I'll jump on those as I can. So it's a great way to kind of stop me and get me to answer something specific. So back to the auction items, let's take a look at the 2-year lease on the Ford Mustang. So like any auction item that we have in ClickBid, it has a title, has an item number. We can give it a category. We can set it to active. It's going to close at 7 p.m. On the 30th. And then we set it to a live auction item type. That's all standard in ClickBid. The new service that we added is the ability to allow live bids. And if I say yes, then what I can do is set a starting bid and an increment. Now, in working with a lot of charities as they're doing these events, this is something that I think is important to mention up front. It gets skipped a lot, and then 10 minutes before the event starts and they're going to go live with the auction, you know, I'll look at the increments and they won't be set right. And though it's not, you know, critical, it's something that I think is really helpful to do up front. If I know that when I set this item up, the value is $10,000, and maybe I haven't talked to my auctioneer yet to determine what I'm auctioning this for, I think it's important to set a good starting bid and a good increment. And so a good starting bid would be anywhere between 40 and 50% of the fair market value. So I'm going to say 4,000. And then an increment would typically be something where you could get about 10 to 12, maybe at most 15 bids, and you would be at a price that you really want to sell it at. So you don't want it to only get 2 bids and then it's kind of reached its value and people aren't going to go above it. I also don't want to set the starting bid or the bidding increment at $1 and nobody can bid more than $1. So this increment is how we're going to calculate for the folks at home what the next bid is that they can bid on it. So this is an important number. I put $1,000 so that if I got 10 bids, then my sale price would be $14,000. That might be a little high if the market value I know is 10, so maybe I'll do 500. So if I had 10 bids on that, that would be 5,000 and I'd be at 9. If I had 15 bids, you know, and so on, that would get me in that 12,000 to 15,000. So the default bid increment when you create, that was a question that came in, is I believe it's $5 if you just create an item from scratch and you don't touch it. And so that's why I always recommend when you're setting up your live auction items to take a look at starting and increment. So starting bid is what the first bid is going to be. Increment is what the next is going to be. 4,000 to start the bid, 4,500 is the next bid, 5,000 is the next bid, 5,500. I'll show you how you can change that on the fly, but it's, in my opinion, it's best to set these good up front. And then if the auctioneer comes in and wants to change it, then that's fine, but it's better than having a $1 or a $5 increment. That's definitely not ideal because then you're kind of scrambling to get that increment set up right. So you can set your description and extras, and then you can add pictures. So just like any regular auction item. But the difference here is that I changed allow live bids to yes once I added it as a type live, and then I wanted to set a starting bid and an increment. Those are the two, well, 3, I guess. Allow live bids, yes. Set a starting bid, set an increment. When you're done with that, you can go, let me move my Zoom stuff here. You can press complete and go back, and then you can see the 2-year Ford lease is now live type, $4,000 start, $500 raise, and we have this little tag here called event stream. This is a really quick way to figure out which items in your account are event stream. You can just type in EVENT, and it's going to filter those tags to just the items that are event stream. That means they can be bid on from home. They're live, and they can be bid on from home. I usually like to, when I'm prepping an organization's event and I want to see if everything's set up right, I usually use these up and down arrows to sort closing time here. You can see if I press the up arrow, the down arrow, and it's going to resort. Let's say that somebody was in here, somebody was helping me out, and they had a closing time of, 11:55 on the 26th of September. When I'm just kind of quick going through and I do a sort, I see, oh, wait a minute, let me refresh my page here. The sort works better when you've refreshed. So if I sort it one way and I see 7 p.m., perfect, that's one extreme. And then I say, oh, okay, whoops, I resorted it. And now I've got a straggler here. I want to set that right. So I resorted it, and now I know, oh, okay, so I need to change this. Somebody didn't catch that, so I want to set it back to 7 o'clock and done. And now I'm all set, and now everything is peachy keen. I've got 7 p.m. You can do the same thing for starting bids if you want to see if you've got, you know, you look at this and you think, whoa, starting bid of $1, that doesn't seem right. And you go, oh, this is my donation item, that's okay. Starting bids don't matter with donation-based items. This is a credit item, doesn't matter what the starting bid is. Okay, that's good, that's fine. You can do the same thing for minimum raise. You see here, I've got a couple of $1 raises, and it's like, wait a minute, what is that? And I see here I have a live item. I don't, you know, if this were an event stream, that could be bad. But it's not an event stream, so it's a different type of live item. It's just the regular, only can bid on it from the event item. And then in that case, the raise doesn't matter because the auctioneer is handling the whole thing. If you wanted to make a quick change, you could just click on one of these boxes and change the minimum bid to 500 if you wanted to, and then press update, and it'll automatically update it. So you don't have to go into the item if you don't want to when you're updating these. Anything that has a little blue box. And then, let's see, I have a question here. Would figuring starting bids and increments be about the same for live and silent? In my opinion, yeah. You know, an auctioneer is going to know for sure, so I wouldn't want to steer you too far in the wrong direction. But yeah, typically, you know, as low as 35% market value and as high as 50, typically, for a live is what I've seen in my experience. But some auctioneers will have a different approach. But if you're setting these up by yourself, you know, 2, 3, 4 days before you even meet with your auctioneer, that's what I would do just to kind of get in the ballpark. So you know, you're not, everything's kind of at least in a good range. So now I have all these event stream items set up and I'm ready to go ahead and open my auction. Now we have on our corporate website, ebo.io, we have a button here that says Virtual Event Resources. If I click on that, we have an ever-growing list of, you know, use cases, frequently asked questions. I updated some of these this week. And then we have a checklist. This is something I wanted to show you. This checklist you can use to kind of walk through your event and see that, you know, you're kind of staying on track. Now, it's going to be a little bit different for everybody, but what I've simulated here is I'm starting my checklist on the Sunday before the event, and then my event is on that Saturday. So I have Sunday to Saturday, and these are kind of the steps I'd want to make sure I take. We went through the Manage Items page. This is for the landing page to make sure that people can register their bid. This is the social sharing option, and so on. And these kind of walk you through getting set up to, you know, do a quick kind of off-the-cuff broadcast, as I call it, on a Monday morning. If you're going to launch your auction, you might, and you're using EventStream, you should tell everybody, hey, at 10 o'clock on Monday when we open the auction, you know, Matt from ClickBid, or, you know, if this were my charity, Matt from ClickBid Foundation is going to jump on for 2 minutes and just talk about the auction and get everybody fired up and kind of really tell the story of why we're even doing this. And so don't forget to miss it. You know, be a registered bidder in order to watch it. And then I would use, you know, my simple broadcasting tools in ClickBid to make all that happen. Then we talk about dry runs, you know, testing everything. We talk about the Saturday event, using OBS to broadcast, and then doing a paddle raise. And then this is kind of a layout here for how I might set up an event that actually is doing a little bit more complex Saturday night program, where I have maybe some pre-recorded video, a page that I want to call up, a live auctioneer with a camera, a live auction where I'm running the event stream, and so on. This is kind of how I would kind of visualize it here, and then just a few more checklist items. So I'll make sure this is available to you guys, but if you're ever looking for it and you can't remember maybe where I emailed it or something, just go to our corporate website, cbo.io, and it'll be available to you on the virtual event resources. So what I want to do is from here, I want to kind of put a pause on using the live auction component, and I want to get us set up for broadcasting. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to share a little bit. It's quarter after, so we've only been at this for 15 minutes. I'm a little bit ahead of schedule, which is good. I'm going to first show you how I would use Zoom to broadcast and then I'm going to show you how we can use OBS. Now, we're going to try some magic here. What I'm going to do is in Zoom, I'm going to go to zoom.us. If I want to use Zoom as my broadcaster, I have a Pro account. There's the free account, and then there's the Pro account. And the Pro account, I think, is $15 a month. And you need to use the Pro account in order to take whatever you're doing in Zoom and broadcast it to a service like ClickBid. They make that available now as part of their package. And so in my account, I have my profile, my picture. Let me zoom this in a little bit so you guys can see all my passwords and everything. And what I would want to do is I would want to, in order to set this up so my Zoom account will let me broadcast, is I'm going to go to Settings, and then I'm going to go to the In-Meeting Advanced. And it kind of scrolls everything way down. I'm going to keep going until I find Allow Live Streaming Meetings. So you have to turn it on. It's not on by default. You have to say, yes, I want to use this. And so you have to check the box that says Custom Live Streaming Service. And so what that means is that whenever you're running a Zoom meeting from now on, you could immediately broadcast it to your ClickBid account once you have added those credentials. And so you don't have to. You're not doing something that's going to permanently ruin your Zoom account. You're just making it as an option if you want to use it. And so now that's done. And I don't think you have to hit save. I think it's, oh, wait a minute. Let me move this here. Yeah, I think it's auto saving. So once you choose like YouTube, oh, okay, it will ask you to save it. So I'm just going to turn off YouTube, and then I will leave it on so that way I can hit save and you can see what that looks like. So I hit save, and then it says your settings have been updated, and now I can broadcast to YouTube. I can broadcast to the custom service, which will be ClickBid. Now, the next thing you want to do is go back to your ClickBid admin, and you want to go to Event Central and the live broadcast page. Now, we're actually, oh, good. It looks like they went to, my development team was making some changes that we were looking over today, and we changed this page a little bit to add a little more information to be helpful. And so you have your live broadcast page. This is available to you when you use ClickBid in Event Stream. You have the main settings area. If you want to do a quick broadcast from your browser, and then if you want to have the technical details for OBS, Zoom, and et cetera, any other software. So what we want are these long, confusing codes. Now I'm just going to park here for a minute, and I'm going to go back to Zoom, and I'm going to start a meeting. It doesn't matter who I'm going to start it with. This is just kind of to get us going. I'm going to start a meeting. Once I'm in my meeting, there's a little bar, if you've ever used Zoom, at the bottom where it says mute, stop video, security, sharing, and then there's a more option, and then it says live on custom live streaming service. It's kind of a long title. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a picture of my screen. I'm going to show it to you because Zoom doesn't let me show you the Zoom stuff in our meeting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to desktop. And this is what I screenshot just now. This is my Zoom page, my Zoom control. You notice mute, stop video, security, participants. If you've ever run a Zoom meeting, you get these options here. And then there's that more, and this option now is available because we checked that box, live on custom live streaming service. If I choose that for the first time, let me close my screenshot. If I choose that for the first time, it's going to take me to a web page, and it's going to ask me to log in with some credentials. Now, what I want to, because I've already logged in once before, the next and third, after you've done this once, it's going to not require you to do it again. So that's what's happening here. So I'm just going to go back to my ClickBid admin, and I'm going to show you a screenshot of what that looks like for the first time. so that way you can see it. So when you click on that for the first time, you're going to see, this is a PDF that you can download on that same page. This is what I'm walking you through right now. And it's going to show you this element right here. Let me see if I can zoom in. So see here, whoops, there is, it pops open a screen that says live stream the Zoom meeting to a custom service. And it wants to know what the streaming URL is, it wants to know what the streaming key is, and it wants to know what the live streaming page URL is. Thankfully, we have all those. And what this is doing is, it's like, I've said this before, if I'm going to write a letter to somebody out in California, I can't just write a letter, put it in an envelope, stick it in my mailbox, and then it gets sent to the right person. I have to have an address. The mail service, the mail, infrastructure that we have in this country has to know, oh, okay, it's going to California, it's going to San Francisco, it's going to, the north side, and then it eventually finds its way to that person's mailbox because I addressed it right. Got to do the same thing with streaming video. So what it wants is the streaming URL, the streaming key, and the live streaming page URL. I go back to the page I already opened, and I have the server, the publishing path, that's the server. It wants the streaming key, so there's my streaming key, and then it wants the viewer link, and that's that. So I put little copy buttons next to each one, so you don't have to try and select all this. You just press the copy button, and then you come back here, paste it, paste it, paste it. So the streaming URL is going to be the published path, the server, this one. The streaming key is going to go streaming key, and the live streaming page URL is going to go right here, viewer link. Now, in my Zoom file, I highlighted those right here so you can see them. And this PDF is available as well. So when you do all that, for the first time, it'll save it, and then you don't have to do it again. That's the nice thing. So what happens is I have gone ahead in my Zoom meeting, and I clicked on More, Live Streaming, Live Service, whatever that confusing term is. What does it say? It says, well, I already started it. So what happens is now if I go to if I go to my website as a bidder, and I log in, and then just give it about 5 seconds, it's going to tell me, hey, you've got a live video going. I'm going to mute myself, and now I am broadcasting my Zoom meeting with you guys. So you can see I'm up in the corner there, it's hard to see it because if I went full screen, now it's doing that picture-in-a-picture thing. It's kind of funny when I do this. But it's broadcasting my Zoom meeting. Now, you might think, well, that's kind of weird. I mean, it doesn't really help me because I'm looking at Matt's desktop. Well, in a normal world, you wouldn't be sharing your desktop. You'd be using the viewer here, and it would be, the people that have opened up their web cameras. You've put them into, you start out with just you, so I'm pinning myself. So let's say if I pin myself, what does that do? Okay, it didn't do it. I have to stop my, well, if I stop my sharing, you can't see it. So basically, if I pin myself, I become full screen, and now I'm broadcasting whatever my camera sees in the office. And then I have guests call in from around the country or from their homes or, my screening parties. And then I can bring them in out of the waiting room in Zoom, and I can make them part of my meeting, let them go full screen, have them talk for a minute. And then because I'm in control of the Zoom meeting, I can kick them back to the waiting room. And so, so it said try Spotlight was the suggestion, but because I'm sharing my screen, I don't think it's not going to let me do it. I'd have to stop sharing, but then if I do that, then you guys miss out. If you want, go to this address. And then you can see it on the landing page, mddemo.cbo.io. You can see the video broadcasting on the landing page. So I can make my live broadcast available publicly to anybody I want on the landing page without logging in. Or if I want people to, only see it if they're logged in, then I can take it off the landing page, and then the only way to see it is to log in. Maybe what one group is doing, which I think is really smart, is they're doing an hour-long broadcast, but then they're going to do kind of a highlight 5-minute edit. And they're going to tell people, if you want to watch, the only way you'll ever get to see the full broadcast is to tune in on Saturday night from 6 to 7. And that's it. You have to you have to register as a bidder, or register as a user, and that's it. Otherwise, you'll only ever get to see the recap, which is a short 2, 3, 4 minute best of. And so that's one way to entice people to register and to get in. Something that I've seen in the last 3 months, 4 months of people doing it is you cannot go overboard on promoting your event. And you cannot go overboard on getting people to participate in the auction. Because again, you're not enticing them with a ballroom, you're not enticing them with an open bar, you're not enticing them with sitting with 9 other friends. You want them to join in a program online from their bedroom or living room or wherever. And so the rules are a little different online. And so you really want to incentivize people. Tell people anybody who logs into bid and places a bid is going to be entered into a drawing for $200 or $500 or $50 or a 3-month car wash membership at your community car wash. So those things go a long way, and they motivate people. They're not gimmicks, they're incentives. And then the other thing that you really want to be conscious of is less is more when it comes to the video that you're broadcasting. People will probably not watch a full hour-long program unless it's captivating, which is why I do recommend, if you can get somebody to produce some good interviews, keep them short, because remember, people are watching stuff online that's only a couple minutes long. Unless it's an episodic television show, even then it's only an hour, sometimes a half an hour. But, you've got to keep it interesting. People aren't going to come to a 2-hour-long broadcast when they might have come to a 2-hour-long event because there's things to do. I can stand in a bar, I can talk to somebody, I can then go talk to somebody else, and so on. So you got to keep in mind that less is going to be more when it comes to the amount of stuff you put out there and how compelling it is. And then also there's no going overboard when it comes to promoting people to log in and watch the broadcast, especially if you're doing a live auction, because you want people into the live auction. Send out special dedicated tweets or Facebook posts or Instagram posts of each individual live auction item that you're going to auction off. Put it on your landing page, share it on social media, share it again on social media. Anytime you have something you might think is relevant, share it. Because as long as it's something that could benefit people, it's good information to tell. That's one of the things we've learned too, is how many posts are too many posts. If you're telling somebody something new, then it's okay. This is new, this is good information. People are posting things on Instagram every 5 minutes. And, as long as it's compelling and it's interesting, then that's okay. So anyway, that's my soapbox for, making sure your content is compelling and it's entertaining and it's got staying value. Even if it's a 20-minute presentation, that is completely okay. People are going to love it as long as it's got the right information. And then the live auction, short and sweet. Keep it fast, keep it moving. Don't make it 45 minutes because people will start to sign out, especially if they're not interested in that live item, then they'll just drop off. So keep it going. Spend maybe at most 3 minutes auctioning an item and then move on to the next one. So that's that. But you can see here I'm broadcasting my Zoom meeting, and as long as I'm running my Zoom meeting and as long as I'm running it live, it's going to be streaming it. Now I'm going to take another screenshot, and then I'm going to bring that up, when I'm done broadcasting, I would go back to that same place where I started it, and I would say stop live stream, and I'm going to do that now. I'm going to choose stop live stream, get rid of my screenshot, and you're going to see this after within about 10 seconds. Once it's going to go away, which it did, because I stopped my broadcast. So Zoom controls it. Now, if I go back to Zoom, oops, I hit the stop sharing. If I go back to Zoom and I say launch live streaming service, it's going to go here. It's going to prepare, and when it's done, this was one of the questions that was just asked. Let's see. So it's going to preparing. Takes a minute for Zoom to do all the bouncing around the web to get it all connected. But once it's done, actually, you know what? Maybe I stopped it too fast. I think this happened to me once before. I was starting and stopping it too much. So let me go back to my Zoom meeting and stop live stream. Let it sit for a second. And then, because sometimes if you start and stop it too quickly, it gets confused and it needs to, I don't know, clean out the cache or something. But what I was going to show you is that it pops the video up automatically. So if I'm bidding in the auction, it's 5:55, the program starts at 6, and I'm just kind of looking around. I don't have to click anything anymore. We just updated that. It will automatically pop the video open. Because if you're telling us that you're ready to broadcast, then we're assuming that you're ready to send it to everybody who's logged in. So let me just see if I can start that up again. If I can get Zoom to send me that broadcast. So, oh, yep. There we go. So it automatically fired up, and now notice how it just popped open. So I didn't have to do anything. So perfect. And then when I'm done, I can go back and stop live streaming service. And again, it'll stop it, and then my video will go away. See, that's all there is to it. And with Zoom, you want to practice that a few times because, excuse me, because you want to get good at how to pin videos and stuff like that. In my in this documentation that I have here, I get into more screenshots because I'm not actually doing a Zoom meeting with people about doing a Zoom meeting in EventStream, so I'm not trying to do two things at once. If you come down here, once it's set up, you can see in Zoom I'm full screen. This is when I had a beard. I'm full screen in the mobile version, well, top third. And then when I have somebody in the waiting room, I can admit them, and now we are side by side. And so Tom and I are going to have a conversation, and everybody who's logged in can watch my conversation. Now, this is pretty low tech, meaning I don't have makeup and, beauty lights and all that stuff. But as long as that content is compelling, this is really, really cool. If I'm talking to somebody who's benefiting from my nonprofit, this is going to be more valuable than a heavily produced video because it's real life stuff. And if you want to know more about what I'm talking about, go to youtube.com and Google search Disney vloggers, and you'll see thousands of videos about people who just walk through the Disney parks talking about their experience. And they have millions and millions of page views. So that means millions of people have sat through and watched somebody go through a park and order food, ride rides, and talk about the good feelings they had when they did it. And that's millions of people. That's more than we could ever hope for our charities. And so, again, a real life, really compelling video is going to go a very long way when it comes to doing these. And so now, if I'm going to jump around here to OBS, then let me make sure I'm not. Okay, good. Now, if I'm going to do OBS instead of Zoom, I want to move my Zoom controls up there, and then I'm going to do OBS. And I'm going to open that. Now, the OBS that I'm going to show you is the standard version. And in order, again, OBS, just like Zoom, you need to actually connect OBS to the right address so that when it sends my video to my ClickBid account, it knows where to send it. Once it gets out on the web, it's got to know to turn left, turn right, turn left, go straight to get to my server. So under OBS, you can actually press the settings button over here in the bottom right. There's a settings button. And then you can go to this menu on the side, and the stream is the first, there's the second option. And then you can say service custom. And then what all it wants is a server name and a stream key. And again, we got those on the Event Central live broadcast. And then right here, publish path, and I put in parentheses server, that's the server, so I can just press copy. Then it's going to want the stream key, and I'm going to press copy. And then I'm going to put those two values right in here. And then I'm going to come down one more option to output. And you'll notice that I have these settings here. And lo and behold, on our ClickBid page, we just launched this today, I'm very excited about it, is the actual settings you want to use. Encoder settings, X264, rate control, CBR. Basically, I'm giving you everything to choose in order to make your video not skip and broadcast smoothly. So we need a because the service we use is built to be fast and low delay. You have to do a lot less encoding on OBS to make sure it gets there fast enough and gets there so that people can consume it quickly. So you want to do these settings and make sure to follow these settings the way they want, so that way it does work properly. And again, you want to test it. So I'm going to say CBR. I'm going to first choose encoder 264, CBR, put a bit rate in here, anywhere from 1,000 to 4,000. So maybe I'm going to do 500 just because I'm doing Zoom and I'm doing OBS at the same time. So I've got a lot going on my computer. Keyframe interval is 2 seconds. Profile is baseline. That's important. Tune, I put into 0 latency. And then this options is a text box, and you just type in that stuff that I put in there, --B frames 0, with the space there. And that's it. Just press OK. When you're ready, just press start streaming. And when it's ready, it's going to say stop streaming. And in the very bottom, you'll see this live, and it'll be a counter. And it's going to tell you how much computer power you're using and so on. And then you can come back here to my video, and you can see I'm streaming. And it says, get ready. And so in OBS, I've created what are called scenes. And the difference between OBS and Zoom is that OBS is meant for playing videos that you've already produced, having a live auctioneer, things like that, where Zoom is really good at just bringing people in from around the community or the country even to talk to you during your event. You can play videos in Zoom. You just share your desktop and play a video on your desktop, and it'll do it. But OBS is more of a professional, a lot of gamers use this, a lot of hobbyist broadcasters and all that. So I create a scene for my waiting. Then I have a video that I want to play. Then I have my camera. Then I have my last video. No, I haven't linked. They're not linked anymore, and so on. But I can create these scenes, and then I can create different sources. I can set up a web camera, an external camera, a video that I want to play, a leaderboard, the display, the appeal display, and so on. I can drop all those in here just by choosing them from the plus menu. And those will come in, and I'll be able to broadcast and send those. The nice thing about OBS is you can set it up a few days early and test it, and then you can leave it. And once it's in here, it doesn't change, and you want to make sure it doesn't change because you want it to be rock solid. So I've said test it a few times. What I meant by that was if I come here to my live broadcast page, I have this option of changing privacy to, let me just make sure, privacy to public or dry run. Dry run is kind of a testing option where I can say, you know, these are the bidders that I want to participate in my dry run. So if I want to set up a test bidder and then another bidder from one of my committee members, if I'm in dry run and I'm broadcasting in OBS, Zoom, whatever, the only people that can log in and see my video are these two bidders right now. If I want to add one, I can just do 102, and as soon as I click outside of this box, it's going to save it. So I can do, you know, 103. So now I have 4 bidders that can participate in the video. I could do this any time of day, 2-3 days before the event. Only those 4 people are going to see the video. So I can run through my entire program, not interfering with people that are bidding in the auction. So they can see, you know, they can keep bidding and they'll have no idea that I'm doing a dry run. So that's, you know, that's one way to do it. That's what I would recommend when I say test it, is to go into dry run. Now keep in mind, you want to set it back to public when you're done, so that way anybody who logs in the next time when you're actually going live will see it. I'm going to come back here and just look at chat here. And all right. Then I'm going to go to, just making sure I'm not missing anything. I want to come back again full circle. So let's say I'm running my broadcast, which I think I am. Yep, if I hit live, it'll start playing. And then now I've got my broadcast here. I want to run my live auction. So I'm like, all right, folks, I've got my camera going and people are watching the thing where it says, you know, I've got the auctioneer loaded and he's saying, hey, everybody get your phones out. Let's get the auction going. Let's do some live bidding. And then you have a volunteer, often an auctioneer, we'll call them a spotter. They'll bring a couple of spotters to an event, and their job is to walk around the venue and point out people that are raising their paddle in case the auctioneer can't see them. What my recommendation is, take one of those spotters that you would have had with the auctioneer and say, you sit at this desk and you run this dedicated laptop, and that dedicated laptop is running the event stream. So I press on this manage your event stream button. And so that spotter is going to be able to watch, mute that. They're going to be able to watch the stream, and they can run the live auction. So I have 7 live auction items, Paris Getaway all the way down to the live event stream item. And then the auctioneer is going to say, all right, folks, let's get this auction started. The first item up for auction is a Paris Getaway for 2. The volunteer or the spotter clicks on the item to get it preloaded with the starting bid, 7,000, minimum bid 400. Remember when I said you want to set those up? Because if you never got a chance to talk to the auctioneer and you press start, you want to make sure you have a good minimum bid in here. And sometimes if the auctioneer doesn't talk to you, you could have a terrible minimum bid in here, and then you're scrambling. If you had to change it and the auctioneer said, you know what, let's go by 500. And you're like, oh, okay, so I'm going to add $100 to the minimum bid, and now I've added it. Or I'm going to take away $100, take away. Or if I'm like, if the auctioneer says, you know what, do 550. I'm going to just type in 550. So I can change these on the fly, but it's better to kind of have a good starting point. Now, I've basically queued this up to get ready to bid on, but I haven't started the bidding, because the auctioneer will almost always say, next item up for bid is Paris Getaway for 2. Folks, this is an amazing item. This item is going to be for 2 people to get on a plane, go to Paris, spend 5 nights in a beautiful studio flat right next to the Eiffel Tower. And it's just magnificent views all day long and into the evening. We know that this package is worth many, many thousands of dollars, and we're going to start it at $7,000. So they're kind of doing a pitch, you know, kind of get you excited. And so what does the bidder see? The bidder sees a bid live button. And, you know, once they've started the auction, and I press that, and this is what happens. I see Paris Getaway for 2. Items not currently accepting bids. It's in what I call preview mode. And once the volunteer clicks on start, boom, let's start that bidding, $7,000. Then it transitions the button to 7,000. So remember, I set a starting bid and a minimum bid. That's why it's important, because that's how we're doing the math to know what button to make this. So if I bid $7,000, I'm now winning this item. Good job. Okay, now the auctioneer sees, and so does the spotter, $7,000 just came in, and he says, oh my gosh, Harry Bosch, $7,000. All right, great, we got the bidding going, 7,000. Next we got 7,550. You know what, let's make it 7,500. So the spotter types in 7,500. The reason that's important is, again, because that's what math we're doing to come up with these buttons. So when people are bidding at home, they're bidding on the same number that somebody's bidding on in the room. So the spotter is sitting here and the auctioneer says, I got a bid for 7,500 right here. Thank you, number 102. Spotter types in a floor bid, which means somebody in the ballroom gave 7,500, and now I'm going to log that one. So now Matthew Merkins is 7,500. He's sitting 50 feet away from me in the ballroom, and I'm in the back with the AV folks. And now at home, Harry Bosch is sitting here. He just got outbid, $8,000. Oh, forget that, $8,000. I want it. Oh, and then the auctioneer sees the $8,000. Harry Bosch, all right, he's back in the game, 8,000. And you keep this process going. Anybody from home, anybody at the event can see it, and you can see me in this screen right here. Again, it says get ready, but you would have switched this to the actual camera of the auctioneer. And then when it's ready to sell, you would say, all right, everybody, we're at 8,500 going once, 8,500 going twice, and sold. And when they say sold, the spotter presses sell. Boom, item's been sold. And back home, I see, oh, I won this item. Sweet, I just won the Paris Getaway for 2. The auctioneer says, thank you so much. Now we're going to move on to the Gibson Les Paul signed guitar. And then the spotter says, all right, we're moving on. So I press that one. Your item is loaded. Don't forget to press start to start the bidding. And it says, folks, this Gibson Les Paul is an amazing guitar. And then it says, this item is not accepting bids right now because, again, the auctioneer's talking it up. He doesn't want bids to start flowing in yet. So he's going to kind of hold it off for a second. And then the auctioneer's going to say, let's start the bidding, $3,000. The volunteer presses start. And the auctioneer might see a hand in the room. All right, we got $3,000 right here, bidder 102, perfect. So now Matthew Merkins is in this, and he bid 3,000. So how does everybody at home know? We placed a floor bid. And so now everybody at home can bid $4,000. And everything is staying synchronized. And I bid $4,000 at home, and I'm like, yeah, I want that. And then it says, oh, Harry Bosch, back home, we got a $4,000 bid, $4,000. Do I hear 5,000, 5,000? And Matthew Merkins says, yeah, I want that, puts his paddle back in the air. 102, boom, Matthew Merkins. And now Matthew Merkins is winning it. And back home, I am losing at $6,000. Okay, well, I can't do 6. And the auctioneer says, okay, folks, they've only got 3 bids. The auctioneer says, all right, folks, let's go 5,500, 5,500. Now the spotter has to be paying attention, because the spotter says, oh, the auctioneer just dropped the next bid $500, so I need to lower $500. So I've updated it, and now the next bid is 55, because again, I got to let everybody at home be able to bid the same amount as everybody in the room, or if there's nobody in the room and it's totally virtual, then everybody at home still has to know what the auctioneer is allowing them to bid, and now it's been lowered. And I say, yeah, okay, cool. I'm back. I'm at home. I'll do 5,500. I press 5,500. Now I'm winning. And I'm like, okay, cool. And then that doggone Matt Merkins comes in and says, yep, I'm going to do it. It's 6,000. Boom, $6,000. And I'm outbid. Oh, I can't do 6,500. So I'm out. And the auctioneer says, all right, folks, going once, going twice, and sold to Matthew Merkins. The volunteer presses sell. And now it takes the bid button away, and I did not win the item. Well, you know what? I got my Paris trip. And then the auctioneer says, all right, folks, we're going to move on. This is the cash donation. We want everybody who's here tonight, we want everybody to participate, help this organization raise enough money to do the things that they do. I'm going to load up the cash donation, and we want everybody to give, let's everybody give $500. And let's get this number going. So then I come here, and it says, at home, I haven't done anything, and it says, to participate, please close this window and press donate. Close this, press donate, And if he said 500, or I can do 500, and I submit, yes, and now I've put in $500 so 500 has been raised. I can see that there, and I can see that Harry gave $500. And the auctioneer can say, Harry Bosch, thank you so much for that $500 donation. And then somebody else can come along and say, I want to give, $600. And they did it from their phone. And the auctioneer will see a different name here, and he'll be able to keep up and say, folks, we are at $1,100. Let's get to $15,000. And so, he's calling it. Now in OBS, you can get really fancy and put in a appeal display. So if I go to items, manage items, and then I find my donation item, here it is. And then I come down to projected display settings. I can then click on this link right here and copy it. So copy link address, come back to OBS. And what I want to do is I'm going to go to a new source or new scene, and I'm going to call it appeal. You can call it anything you want. And I'm doing this in real time, right, like while my broadcast is going. So I do browser, okay. I'm going to paste in the address that I copied out of ClickBid. I'm going to make it the full screen. No, okay, it's not going to be full screen. Move this over here. And so I must have done something. What I want to do is come back here. I'm going to say thermometer, and my goal is, let's just put in a goal of $20,000. I'm going to no sponsors, no text to give. Yeah, donor names are fine. Show the goal, and that should do it. So let me go back to OBS. I'm going to repaste this link in. Hit OK. Why are you, it doesn't like me right now. That's weird. That's never not worked. Let me go back, add another browser. I must be doing something wrong. I'm moving too fast because I'm running out of time, and I want to trying to fit all this in. Boards appeal. There we go. Oh, didn't like me, I guess. So I did it twice, and now it works. So I'm in my appeal, and I'm showing it to everybody. So Harry Bosch gave, $1,100. And if I look on my bid site, I have my appeal running. So I can cut to that screen. And now if let's Harry Bosch is going to give, because that's the only one I'm logged in as, he's going to give $10,000. And we're going to see that thermometer shoot up. 11,000's been raised, thermometer's gone up towards our goal. And now everybody at home who's watching the stream gets to see that. The auctioneer's off camera saying, folks, this is amazing. We got $11,100. We need to get to 20,000. That is, going to change, the world, and so on and so forth. And that's, how you would go, building that. Now, again, what I did in OBS was I added that as a browser. The thing that I didn't do first was I didn't set up my item. So back under items, I needed to make my settings here. So that way there was an appeal to show in the first place. So I picked a thermometer, set a goal, and then I added my browser element in my link. So once I did that, everything was working fine. And I can cut to, get ready. Now, if I move this over, switch to this screen, you can see that I'm broadcasting from my studio, and everybody at home is watching the feed. And then I go to my appeal. Where did it go? Here it is, appeal, and now that moves up. So what I'm switching to, everybody's seeing at home. So I'm kind of like a broadcast studio like CNN or ESPN, and I'm switching and showing and picking what people are seeing on television. So it's pretty cool. So that, in a nutshell, in a very big, hollowed out nutshell, is event stream. Now, there was a lot in there. I've recorded this. I'm going to put it online for all of you guys to watch. and, pick up. One thing that is available today, actually, is what we call, something I'm pretty proud of, is the confidence display. When you have an auctioneer who's across the room and you have a volunteer that's running this screen, they're running the live auction, essentially. The auctioneer says, okay, Chef Tony's up for auction. How does the auctioneer know what's going on? Because it's not like the auctioneer is doing their job standing over my shoulder while I'm clicking buttons. What they call that in the video world is a confidence monitor. You set that on the ground, usually next to the podium, and the auctioneer or the speaker can look down and see what's going on. So we give you one that you can load on a phone. You can load it on a tablet, on another laptop, and it's just a view only. They can't click anything, but if you click on this, it takes you to the page and it shows you everything that's happening. So if this is on my phone, let me come back here and I'm going to go to, I'm using Manage Your Event Stream, and I'm sitting at a desk by the AV guys, and I am running this thing, but my auctioneer is standing on camera, and the auctioneer needs to see what I'm doing. The auctioneer is running this screen over here. I'm going to break this off. I'm going to make this look like a phone. And then I'm going to make this smaller so you can see both. Then on the, for the auctioneer, they see this. And then as the volunteer, the auctioneer says, okay, let's start the bidding at $1,000. And I say start. Then this little button here switches to bidding. So now the auctioneer knows that people are bidding. And I'm going to accept. The auctioneer says, I see that bid for $1,000 over there, bidder number 100. And as the spotter, I put in 100. And then he sees, oh, Harry Bosch, perfect. We got a bid from Harry Bosch. Then somebody from home bids, let's go back here, bid live. Back home bids 1,500, and nobody knew that was coming. All of a sudden, Harry Bosch jumps in, bids 1,500, and then the auctioneer sees that one. 1,500, oh, okay, 1,500. So the auctioneer is getting a real-time feed of everything that's going on. That's the same thing with the appeal item and so on. So the auctioneer now has a wireless, mobile-based confidence monitor that they can hold in their hand. They can set it on their podium, do whatever they want, and they can see it all happening while somebody else, a volunteer or one of their staff, is running the live auction for them. So that's, yeah. And so one question here, does the confidence monitor display the entire feed, including the live stream, or just the bid process? It's just the bid process. We're actually looking for feedback on this. If we show the feed, so right here you can see the feed. If you show the feed and there's any kind of delay, in my opinion, the auctioneer is going to have a hard time keeping their head straight, because they're going to see a delay of themselves while they're talking, and it just kind of creates this mental confusion when you're trying to talk. It's easier to just see the bids coming in and then speak that out, and then we'll run, the volunteers behind the cameras will run the feed, and then it doesn't create a distraction. So what can happen if you're using an AV company is they could set up an external monitor that they'll point it at you so you can see the feed going on. And that would be a separate confidence monitor. This is just a mobile screen that you can give to your auctioneer so they can see the bids coming in, because that's really, when the auction's going on, that's what's important. Who's bidding? I need that data as fast as humanly possible, and so on. So there has been some debate as to whether or not we should put the video feed in this, but again, my concern is that it's just too much information to try to fit on a display when you're really trying to see what the next bid is, what the current bid is, and who's bidding on it. That's what the auctioneer really needs. So anyway, we're at 5 o'clock. I'm going to have to cut it off. If there's any follow-up questions, you're going to get an email from me after this meeting, probably first thing in the morning, and it's going to have all of this here so you can rewatch it if you have trouble sleeping tomorrow night. So anyway, all right, thanks guys, and have a great afternoon, evening.